Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. So today, we are talking about Assassin's Creed: The Ezio Collection. So, Assassin's Creed, originally released in 2007, and the Assassin's Creed series has since become one of the best-selling, longest-running, most influential game franchises in history, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And we really got into the series initially with Assassin's Creed 2. And I don't know if you remember this, but my first memory of Assassin's Creed, the original game, is we went to a friend's house and he was playing it, and all we did was like the kind of training practice section there, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember, and I remember that he compared it to Oblivion at that point in time. And
which I don't even think we played Oblivion at that point.
No, we didn't.
I don't think, because I think that was before we had a PS3, probably. So we were still on the PS2.
Yeah.
At that point. But either way, like we knew pretty much nothing about the game. It was like, it was called Assassin's Creed, and assassins were cool, so it was cool. And we, like, after we'd gotten a PS3 and been playing games more seriously, Assassin's Creed 2 was announced, and we just remembered it from just that one event. And so we got it and we played it. And yeah, that is really kind of what started us into that series. And the Ezio Collection is still one of my favorite. It's weird calling it a series, considering it's like just 3 games in a much larger series.
Right.
But it's what, like, specifically referring to the Ezio Collections is one of my favorite series that I've ever played.
Well, it's considered the collection because it's the birth to death story of Ezio Auditore de Firenze.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he is widely regarded as I would say, the best assassin.
Like the best when you play as? Well,
yeah,
just best
the
assassin,
best protagonist, the best assassin in the whole Creed,
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like, I collect pop figures, you know this. And of all the Assassin's Creed protagonists, I think everyone up through Syndicate, every protagonist had a pop figure. I don't know about after that. Mm-hmm. But of all of them, I only really got 2 because I only cared about 2. Mm. And Ezio was one of them.
Yeah.
And the other was Edward Kenway.
Edward Kenway?
Yeah, I love Edward Kenway. But moving on, it's just like those, like Ezio especially is really like, when you think of you can't think of Assassin's Creed without thinking of Ezio.
No, because Altair did a lot in his game, which is the first Assassin's Creed. Yeah. And it introduced, the modern day, the animus, how this whole game series is going to work, and we'll get into that. And Altair, he was just, he was a good assassin. He was a good example of what an assassin should be. He wasn't really like a character outside of being an assassin.
Yeah.
Ezio was a boy who was a rich, paunchy teenage kid in Italy, and then goes through tragedy and develops as a character throughout his life, and we see him grow into this master legendary assassin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, for the sake of, I guess, this podcast, we're not going to do an episode on the first Assassin's Creed because it's just in my opinion, it's a very simple game. Like, it did start the franchise, but it is by far the most dated. It's the most simple of the story in that game is basically hey, this guy's your target. You go to that city. You do a few mini games to figure out where to find him. You find him, you kill him, and that's it.
That's the gameplay. The story is Altair is in the Creed, and the Creed is a large group, and you operate out of their base of operations, and you see all the assassins there. Yeah. And you go through Altair's climb in the ranks, and eventually the Altair's master betrays them, and they have to fight, and Altair wins and recovers a piece of Eden.
Which really kickstarts the whole lore thing about it.
Oh, exactly.
Because at first, there's, like, you can tell that Abstergo wants something, is having for some reason, but you really, as far as you know, you're just going through this dude's life.
Right.
But, it's fun. It's, like, I don't think there's a situation where I would go back and play the first one ever. It's like, I enjoyed it when I played it. I guess it's the quickest one you can get through. It's very fast.
Yeah.
And, it started the series, introduced Altair ibn La'ahad, who is, I think, very cool character. And
he's the original assassin. Yeah. You can't disrespect Altair. He becomes a master assassin in his own right and the head of the Creed in his time. And then Ezio. He was the perfect follow-up because he starts outside of the Creed.
Yeah.
And we see how the Creed operates when they're pushed into secrecy. They're dwindling in numbers.
Yeah, because like in Altair's time, the assassins, they had a castle. They were like in order, and the Templars were in order. Like the whole basis of like the present day stuff is it's like a secret war, but it's like in Altair's story, it isn't a secret war. It's just a war. But then, especially like in Ezio's time, the assassins are like basically like on the brink of defeat. They have very few people left, and Templars are just getting more and more power.
Right, they're almost mythical. The assassins, like regular people don't even believe in them. Some Templars don't even believe that there's assassins still around.
Yeah, so Ezio helps change that, and basically, I mean, the rest of the series wouldn't have happened without Ezio.
Right.
So, getting into the games, first we'll talk about the settings. So Assassin's Creed 2 takes place, all of them take place in 15th century Italy. I think Revelations does get a bit into 16th century, but like 1509 or something. I don't think it's farther than that. Yeah. So in the second game, you can explore the cities of Venice, Florence, Monteriggioni, which is less a city, more a stronghold, castle. Like it's a town, I guess. There are, And then there's like Forlì, there's the Tuscan countryside, and San Gimignano. So a lot of different cities in this one, which to me is like, this is really the last game in the series that didn't have just like the one big map. This was, like the first game, it was a bunch of smaller cities interconnected with countrysides that you would ride to on a horse. But, I can remember playing this game just thinking, marveling at how big it was and how the first game was like you would ride a horse to a city, but it was basically just like, riding down a hill and past all this stuff that for me seemed more there for like flavor. Like nothing ever happened in that in-between moment really. It was just you're riding to the next city. In this, it actually did feel like one, big interconnected world, and it was cool.
That's true. It did do that. Assassin's Creed 2, the open world aspect of it, and the first one wasn't?
It was, but it was like...
It was like little maps that it would put you in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were splintered off. You couldn't choose to go back to them.
Right. You could have been. It was like, but it was like, you had the cities were all maps, but then you had like the wildlands, whatever, between the roads, between the cities. There wasn't anything to do with those except like collectibles, but they were mainly just like you never really fought people in them. If you were just going, you could basically just go from point A to point B, but you had to go through those areas.
Assassin's Creed 2's world felt densely populated to me by both NPCs being random people, whether it be animals on the street, dogs, cats, horses, all kinds of animals you would see, and also the guards. There are many different types of guards around the city. They're dressed in distinctive outfits, and every enemy is highlighted in red in Assassin's Creed. So but and they were plentiful.
No, it was there certainly are a lot of guards.
Well, but there's a lot of activity to do in this city. There's a lot of collectibles to get. There's a lot of people around, a lot of hustle and bustle, things to climb on. The architecture is beautiful. This was the first game where they really focused on the world itself as a character in the game.
Yeah, because it was also like in Assassin's Creed, the first game, all of the cities are basically the same. Mm-hmm. But in this one, you have Venice, which is like the flooded city. So you actually have the streets that are all water. You have like the, I believe it was Forlì was like a, not as much as, it was like surrounded by swampland. So like there's all these kind of different actual scenery based on what, is the actual location, like Italy.
Right. So what about the locations in the other games?
Yeah, so Brotherhood, it takes place in Rome mainly. You do, go to other areas for certain missions and stuff, but the free roaming aspect of it is pretty much entirely in Rome. Although Rome is bigger than all the cities in Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 1. And, I guess for reference, it is 3 times larger than Florence, which I think is the largest city in 2. It's either... Yeah, I believe Florence is the largest city in 2, so it's 3 times larger than that. And it's split into 5 districts. There is the Vatican, the Central, Trans-Tiber country, and Antique. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's, Rome.
Was this the first game in the Assassin's Creed series to implement the districts?
It was.
Element?
It was. Mm-hmm. This was the first game that implemented that. Yeah.
That trend continues into modern day Assassin's Creed games, having one large map and splitting it into districts to conquer.
Yeah,
that's in more modern Assassin's Creeds, it's splitting them up by level, and you can only go to you can only really go to certain places at certain levels.
Yeah, and then Revelations, kind of the same thing. You're in the city of Constantinople, which is
map stuff. American geography.
And that is split up into 4 districts. Constantine, Bayezid, Imperial, and Galata. You can also go to other places. You also go to other places, once again, kind of more for story stuff. You go to Cappadocia, and you go to Masyaf, which Masyaf is the original assassin stronghold from the first game.
Yeah.
And you only go there really at the beginning, in terms of playing as Ezio. You go there at the beginning, that's where the game starts. And then you go there at the end, and that's where Ezio's story ends.
That's why, in Masyaf, the Assassin's Creed Revelations trailer is the best trailer in my opinion.
And even, I think, wasn't that actually just the opening cutscene?
It might have been the opening cutscene.
I think it was a trailer, but then also, I feel like playing the game, it was the opening.
Or the opening cutscene was choreographed similar to the trailer.
Yeah.
They usually do something
It was
like
really cool. I remember watching that trailer for the first time and being like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was sweet. And it really, because it's Ezio taking on a whole, platoon of people. And that just shows how strong Ezio is. He's a legendary fighter, completely unmatched. Anywho. So yeah, a lot of different places to visit in all of these games. But in the spin-off games, it's less variety. You spend most of your time in the same place.
Yeah, but I think that trend has really continued in the main series since then.
True, but whereas in...
It's just the cities get bigger.
Exactly. Like in Odyssey, it's all of Greece.
Well, yeah, but those are... I assume if we're talking about the series relevant to this game, we would be talking about the old games. So everything before Origins. But because in terms of that,
France.
I guess in Assassin's Creed 4,
Emporium.
Yeah, those two are different. But I guess it's mainly just Unity and Syndicate that follow that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there's still big locations, lots of stuff to do. So then you have your characters in all 3 games. Really only protagonists in the game, only people consistent throughout the games, for the most part. You have Desmond Miles, who, in the modern day section of the game, he is an assassin who is basically the descendant of a bunch of master assassins. And he, spends his time in the Animus. And then in the Animus, you play as Ezio Auditore da Firenze, who is, as you said, he kind of starts out as just this, pompous, rich kid who then becomes a master assassin throughout this whole series. Yeah, honestly, I feel like we already summed him up pretty well. So next, we'll move on to the antagonist. Assassin's Creed has a lot of antagonists. So speaking... So I'm just figured to talk about the main antagonists for each game.
Right.
Like the big,
Not like
big
all
bad.
the little underlings, yeah.
Yeah, because, you assassinate a lot of people. There's a lot of stuff going on.
True.
But in the first game, you have Rodrigo Borgia. He is known as the Spaniard for a while because Ezio does not know his name. He eventually becomes the Pope. He is actually a real historical figure who was actually a Pope. I'm pretty sure the rest of it didn't actually happen, but he was a guy that existed.
You mean he didn't actually have a piece of Eden and fight Ezio?
I did not do my historical research, so I don't know. I'm just making a guess. I'm going to guess. A confident guess. He did not actually have that stuff. Then the second game, not the second game, sorry. In Brotherhood, you deal with Cesare Borgia, who is Rodrigo's son.
Yes.
And he is the main antagonist for that game. Mm-hmm. Also an actual historical figure.
Kill his father?
He does kill his father because in the end of the second, Ezio leaves him alive. And then through plot stuff, he does end up killing his father.
Yeah.
And then in Revelations, the main big Templar bad guy is Prince Amet. Mm-hmm. He's just an Ottoman prince. Yeah, he's just the big... It's like a surprise reveal, but he is the big bad Templar of that game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then you have side characters. There are a lot of side characters in these games. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really know who to include. I included, first talk about Lucy Stillman, Sean Hastings, Rebecca Crane. In the modern day, they're the fellow assassins. They help him, with the animus and training him to be an assassin and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then in the past, I guess, really the only two I feel like are super noteworthy is one, Leonardo da Vinci. He's Leonardo da Vinci.
He's more than Leonardo da Vinci in this game. He's, he does everything he was famed to do in real life and more. He's an inventor. He is a Renaissance artist, and he, basically, Ezio asks him for help, and he makes Ezio a lot of assassin tools throughout the games.
He's basically, he really, him and Ezio are good friends.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just like a
yeah, they had a friendship before the assassin thing.
Yeah, that's really weird, because it's I guess because maybe with time skipping, but he meets him for the first time, 2 days before his family is killed.
Yeah.
But then the next time, every time he sees him after that, Leonardo's just always happy to help. And I'm I guess he's just a really nice dude, because obviously they do eventually become friends, but I feel like I either missed something, in the time skip they hung out more or something, or what, I don't know, but yeah, he's definitely, he's a good friend, and he's very smart. Mm-hmm. He, in the second game, deciphers the codexes that you find, which gives you, upgrades, weapons, and stuff, and is used to eventually...
It's story, yeah.
Yeah, story stuff.
Also, there's Ezio's family members. He has some extended family that survive after his immediate family is killed. His sister, he trains her to be an assassin.
Yeah,
at one point.
In Brotherhood,
In Brotherhood, yeah.
So his sister...
Yeah, his uncle Mario,
Claudia,
who trains him.
Mm-hmm.
Mario is the first trainer, first official assassin master that Ezio had.
Yes. And then in Monteregione is his, homestead. Mm-hmm. And then, there's his mother who does nothing ever. And, there's other characters in other games, but it's
they're just not the most notable. And we're trying to focus on Ezio's
it's just, there's just so many of them, and we felt like this podcast was long enough, which is why we've been shortening it, so I really just didn't know where to start, so I just didn't start.
Cool. I think that's good enough.
Alright, so now we get in the story. Alright, so first, story of Assassin's Creed 2. So after the events of the first game, Desmond is rescued by Lucy, taken away from Abstergo, end up at this little hideout that the assassins have, and give him this kind of newer, updated animus that was created by Rebecca, and basically want to train Desmond to be an assassin by living through Ezio's life and this thing called the bleeding effect, which is basically by living out his ancestor, he will learn the techniques somehow. So then, when Ezio is a young man, kind of like you said, just charismatic young man, he his father and brothers are arrested and hanged, framed for crimes by these other families in the city.
Yeah, they're rivals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ezio kills the guy responsible and then flees the city. He ends up being taken to Monteriggioni with his mother and sister, who are the only surviving members of his immediate family. There, Mario trains him to be an assassin and really just teaches him about the assassins in general.
Right.
Because while Ezio's father was an assassin, he had, as far as I'm aware, he had pretty much retired at the point in Assassin's Creed 2 where you're at. And he...
Yeah, so when Mario explains the assassins and the Templars, Ezio doesn't really care about the creed so much at the beginning as he does about getting revenge for his family.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what drives him to train with Mario, and that takes a year.
Yeah.
They train for a year.
Yep. And then, from then, Ezio, after his training, goes on a quest to kill all the people responsible for arranging his father's death. He kills politicians, he kills bankers, he kills mercenaries, he kills merchants, all aligned to... Basically, he kills people involved with the Pazzi and Barbarigo families, because those are the two rival families responsible.
Right.
And throughout his journeys, like I said, he becomes allies with Leonardo da Vinci. He becomes allies with a philosopher known as Niccolò Machiavelli, who is another real, actual person that existed. And he eventually, while in Venice, learns the identity of the Templar Grand Master, the Spaniard, Rodrigo Borgia, who has basically been planning to secure all of Italy under the Templar Order by becoming the Pope, and, yeah. So then, he also finds out that Rodrigo, I think he is getting sent to him, like in possession, the Templars have it, an Apple of Eden, which at this point, Ezio doesn't really know what they are. He just knows it's a powerful artifact, and so he doesn't want the Templars to have it. He disguises himself as a soldier to confront Rodrigo, but then Rodrigo manages to escape with a second piece of Eden that he already has, known as the Papal Staff. And he basically, Rodrigo reveals his whole plan is he didn't really care about any of it. He just wanted to get the two pieces of Eden to unlock a vault that is hidden under the Vatican that he thinks contains a weapon of a very powerful weapon. So then he ends up escaping, but Ezio still has the apple. Because of all he has done in uprooting Templars and freeing the people of Italy, Mario and a bunch of other major characters in this game that are all revealed to be assassins officially induct him in the order, because the game does take place over years and years.
Oh yeah.
Like I think between when you first get to Venice, I think you have to sail there, and then that takes months, and then I think at one point Ezio, I believe in the game it's his 25th birthday or something.
Yeah.
I think he says, and he said it was I think 10 years ago that his father and brothers were hanged.
Oh,
so this game does take place over a very long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So he does do a lot of growing up in that point. But then, moving on from that, he is able to, basically what is his final memory in this game, Ezio goes to the Vatican to confront Rodrigo, who is now Pope Alexander VI. He beats him in a fist fight, and rather than killing him, he lets him live with the knowledge he has failed. Ezio himself combines the apple and the staff. He opens the entrance to the vault. Inside, he is contacted by a strange woman named Minerva, who basically is talking to Desmond in the future through Ezio to get Desmond the information that the world was destroyed in a disaster, the first civilization as it's called, and this disaster is repeating soon, and he has to find more vaults to figure out how to stop it. Yeah, it really comes out of nowhere.
It does.
And then, I guess it can not come out of nowhere, depending on collectibles you got, but for us when we first played it, no idea, super confused, no clue what was going on.
I thought it was a really interesting way to connect the
past to the future.
Past and the future.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And that it does come back to play later.
It does, but not in such a major way,
But yeah.
There's not really huge payoff on it. Yeah. But there's always time, and they're still trying to mess with the present day and the They did a little bit of that in Odyssey also.
Yeah. So then after that whole thing happens, Abstergo people find the assassins. The assassins kill a bunch of like Templars and escape. And then they end up going to Monteriggioni, modern day Monteriggioni.
Mm-hmm.
And Desmond goes back into the Animus to learn more about this event that ended the first civilization, and it directly leads into Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
And it's a long story.
And they came out with these 3 games within a year of each other. I think it was either 8, 9, 10, or...
It was 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, 9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11.
Alright, so Assassin's Creed Brotherhood continues where it left off in 2012 with Desmond after escaping from the Templars. Desmond, Lucy, Rebecca, and Sean flee to Monteriggioni, establishing a new hideout in the ruins of the Villa Auditore. After restoring the electricity in the old tunnels under the villa, the player once again takes control of Ezio through Desmond's genetic memory. They basically have their own makeshift animus that the smart one, who is, I think, Sean?
Rebecca
makes. And
like,
that
I think
is
it's
how...
like Lucy is like the ground one, who goes out and does all the dangerous missions. Rebecca is the tech guy, and Sean is like espionage.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how their dynamic works.
Right. Alright, so then Ezio's story picks up in 1499, where he exits the vault. He is confused by what he saw inside, obviously, rightfully so, and then he escapes Rome with his uncle Mario. They return to Mario's home, and Ezio is comforted by the prospect that his personal vendetta is over. He has gotten revenge for his family and dethroned Rodrigo Borgia.
Well, not dethroned. He's still the Pope.
Oh, is he still the Pope?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He just beat him up and left him there?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens.
Oh, okay. Well, sure. So anyway, Niccolo Machiavelli challenges Ezio's decision to leave Borgia alive. This basically becomes the debate, you know? And the next thing that happens is Monteriggioni, Mario's house, is sieged by Cesar Borgia, who is the son of Rodrigo. Mario is killed at the hands of Cesar himself, and the apple is lost to Cesar and the Templars. Ezio is injured and barely escapes with his life, and he flees to Rome. Rome, at this point in time, is the center of Templar power in Italy. Ezio is once again hunting down the Borgias for vengeance.
Yeah, because now they killed his uncle.
Exactly. A little bit of a rehash, but that's fine. There, he discovers that the assassins are failing in their fight against corruption, and Ezio basically becomes determined to rebuild the guild of Creed members in Rome. He convinces Machiavelli that he has what it takes to lead while assembling a brotherhood powerful enough to destroy the Templars and his new nemesis, Caesar. Over the next 4 years, Ezio executes various tasks meant to cripple the Borgia's hold in the capital, sabotaging Caesar's resources and assassinating key people close to and or working with him in the process. After returning the Roman assassins to full strength, Ezio was given the rank of Il Mentore, which is Italian for the mentor, and he's made the de facto leader of the assassins in Italy. During this time, Ezio's sister Claudia is also made an assassin.
Which, that's actually something I had forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because, in Revelations, kind of every transitional period is Ezio writing a letter to Claudia. And, I had just completely forgotten by the time I played Revelations that she was even an assassin.
Right. Yeah, I remember that because Brotherhood's whole deal is recruiting and having a team of assassins, and I remembered that he taught his sister and then taught, that's just how it was.
Yeah, it's just random people.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Random people.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's why I think it failed, in my opinion. It really was not impactful, the Assassin's Brothers, the Brotherhood system.
Well, I think it was meant to be, because you do level them up and stuff, and you can level up them from, grunts to master assassins. And I think it's just the fact that, I think that is meant to be the point of it, is just, random people that you helped, and they want to fight the power, and you like it is Ezio training them.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying it left something to be desired for me. It's a personal thing that I have with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I'm saying I'd rather play tower defense in Revelations than I would recruit more assassins in Brotherhood.
I liked both.
Blasphemy. Cancel the show. Shut it down. So, anywho.
Cancel the show if you want. Don't hit my mic.
So, Caesar learns of Ezio's actions and confronts his suspicious father and desperately asks for more money, and he wants the apple from Rodrigo. Rodrigo refuses. He is cautious of provoking the assassins who are gaining power and strength every day, and he attempts to poison his son, whose lust for power cannot be held at bay. Caesar turns the tables on his father and kills him instead. I believe he just straight up stabs him.
Yeah.
So yeah, Caesar lives and Rodrigo dies. Ezio witnesses this, and he learns of the apple's location and retrieves it. He uses it to overwhelm Caesar's forces and gradually withdraw the backing of his supporters. Caesar is basically arrested by the Pope's army after Ezio defeats the last of his supporters. Sometime later, Ezio uses the apple to check on Caesar, who is broken out of prison. I remember. Yeah, Caesar breaks out of prison, and it doesn't take Ezio long to track him down, but that is a little thing that happens. Yeah, so then after Ezio kills Caesar, he takes the apple and hides it in a first civilization temple built underneath the Roman Colosseum. And then, using the coordinates from Ezio's memory, Desmond, Lucy, Sean, and Rebecca travel to that temple intending to use the apple to locate the remaining temples and the rest of the pieces of Eden to keep them out of the Templars' hands. But as Desmond goes into the temple, he is confronted with holographic apparitions of a being called Juno. She is the same race as Minerva, the first civilization, and she states that humanity is innocent and ignorant. She basically just hates people.
Yeah, she just doesn't like humans. Because, she and Minerva were basically, higher beings, kind of like gods.
Mm-hmm.
But
I thought that's how everybody in the first civilization was.
No, there were still humans, but humans were not as prevalent. They worshipped them, pretty much. They were just servants and stuff. But then after the destruction of this first civilization and stuff, the remaining quote-unquote gods worked with humans to try to figure out how to stop it from happening again and preserve what technology and what of their life they still had.
Right. Okay. So Desmond approaches the apple and touches it, and time freezes around him. Juno states that Desmond is descended from her race and that he is their enemy. She also says that there is a woman who would accompany him through, quote-unquote, the gate, but must not be allowed to. She then takes control of Desmond's body and forces him to stab Lucy in the abdomen. Both fall to the ground with Lucy dead and Desmond entering a coma. As the credits roll, two men are heard discussing whether to put Desmond back in the animus.
Which, that to me is really just... That credits thing, to me, is just an excuse for being able to free roam after the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also being an excuse to start in the animus in the next game.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's, once again, just like the ending of 2, just out of nowhere, really weird, not explained, incredibly confusing.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
It was a very wild direction to go in, and it definitely took a couple of watches to understand what is going on in this story.
Yeah,
you have to study the Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's
story.
Creed has one of, if not the deepest lore of anything, and it's so intricate, and so many real world figures are used in the history of, these real world people had apples and then they lost them, and then these people had them, and just ridiculous. And I mean, it's insane.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of Brotherhood. That is the one of the trilogy that I remember the least about because we have not played it in a long time. I have not played it in a long time. And it also, I kind of had to rush through that one. I'll explain why. Noah, do you remember when we first played through Assassin's Creed Brotherhood?
I do.
Do you remember how long ago that was?
No, 2009.
Here's how long ago it was. We rented it from Blockbuster.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
And, we could only rent it for, I think, a week.
Yeah, we beat it within that week, didn't we?
It was like the day before we had to return it. We were like halfway done with the game. So then we literally just rushed through the story as quickly as we could just so we could see the end. It was a long time. It was also, Brotherhood was one of the last games that we played through together, like taking turns. Playing like different sections, like mission by mission. Like it was one of the last games that we did that because we would eventually get annoyed because both of us wouldn't want to stop playing.
Right.
And obviously that would cause problems. Very cool. I would definitely say it's the least memorable of the three.
Brotherhood?
Yeah.
That's
probably
fair.
I would say it's the worst of the three. Probably. Yeah. Just in terms of my opinion about it. So then with Assassin's Creed Revelations, following the ending of Brotherhood, Desmond has fallen into a coma, and basically Rebecca takes Desmond to his father, who is like a master assassin. He's like the leader of the assassins he's like the leader of the assassin order I don't know if just overall or if a specific section of it. But basically Desmond is put back in the animus to try to save his mind and is put in the machine's safe mode, which is known as the Black Room. And Desmond, in his mind, wakes up on Animus Island, which is an animus testing program located within the Black Room. Way back when Abstergo was first doing it, like making these. He then meets the preserved conscience of Clay Kaczmarek, who is Subject 16. Very important character for anyone who cares about the hidden lore.
Yeah.
Because Desmond was Subject 17, so he was actually the subject Abstergo used before Desmond. So basically he explains that Desmond's mind is broken, and the only way for him to repair it is by reliving his ancestors' memories until there is nothing left for them to show Desmond, because their memories are all jumbled up. So upon doing that, the Animus can then separate him from Ezio and Altair and awaken him from his coma. So then he enters the Animus Island's memory portal, which places him back in the perspective of Ezio. 4 years after ending the life of Cesar Borgia, Ezio has traveled to Masyaf to discover secrets Altair had previously discovered and find the true purpose of the assassins. Upon arriving, he finds that Masyaf has been taken by the Templars, who mark him for death. He does fight a lot of them. He gets captured. He ends up escaping. And he discovers the entrance to Altair's library. He learns that there are 5 disc-like keys that he needs to unlock the door. He also learns that the Templars had discovered one underneath the Sultan's palace in the Ottoman Empire. The rest lie hidden in the city of Constantinople, which is the capital city.
Yep.
He travels there and is greeted by Yusuf Tazim, who is the leader of the Turkish assassin order. And he befriends a young student named Suleiman. Ezio learns that the keys were hidden in the city by Niccolo Polo, and basically is trying to find him and figure out, he is dead because he hid Altair's keys hundreds of years before, but while looking for clues to them, Ezio encounters and befriends Sofia Sartor, who is a young Italian traveler and book collector. He falls in love with her. He finds locations of the keys with her help, and then kind of like they part, him not sharing that with her. But I don't think it's ever for sure stated, but I assume that she is like the person he ends up with after the game.
When I was researching it, it said that when she was introduced, it said he meets his later wife.
So yeah.
I would assume that she is the girl.
So then, meanwhile, while all this is going on, Constantinople in chaos due to the conflicts between Prince Ahmet and his brother Selim, who are quarreling over who will inherit the sultanate, who will become the sultan after their father has died.
Mm-hmm.
So Ezio kind of gets caught in the middle of this conflict, and Suleiman reveals to Ezio that he is actually Selim's son. He suspects the Templars are actually behind the feud. You know, Templars secretly controlling everything like they do. So Ezio uncovers that a man named Manuel Palaiologos is attempting to raise an army to overthrow the Ottomans and reestablish the Byzantine Empire with Templar support. Ezio kills him and recovers the final key, but then discovers that Ahmet is actually the true mastermind of the Templar Order, and he is trying to find the keys to open Altair's library. So kind of back up a bit. During all this, every time you find a key as Ezio, and he grabs it, he then witnesses Altair's life after the events of the first game.
Right.
So you do play, I think, 6 different sections of Altair's life. So after killing Al-Mualim, who was the head of the Assassin Order in the first game, Altair took possession of the Apple of Eden. He assumed leadership of the assassins. One of the assassins, known as Abbas, did not support Altair due to unexplained past events and just because he killed Al-Mualim. Because the whole Apple thing is, it's not public knowledge.
Right, it's
so
a
as
secret.
far as he's aware, Altair just killed him for unknown reasons.
Right.
So then Altair and his wife Maria leave Masyaf for 10 years to fight off a Mongol invasion, and in that time, Abbas stages a coup, seizing control of the assassins, and he executes Altair's youngest son. Altair sought revenge, but when Maria tried to stop him, another assassin stabs her in the back, and Altair has to flee with his elder son, Darim, and he goes into self-imposed exile for 20 years. Eventually, he returns to Masyaf. He kills Abbas while telling Abbas the truth of his father's death, which I assume was, the reason Abbas hated him. And then Altair encodes his memory onto the 5 keys that Ezio would find and entrusts them to Niccolo Polo. And that's the big kind of side story.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see what happens to Altair. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. Like, another big thing that really brought us into, well, me specifically wanting to get Revelations was the fact that Altair was in it, even. Like, that was a big selling point to me.
Yeah. I like Altair and Ezio when they're both old men. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So then Ezio returns to Constantinople, and he discovers that Ahmet has killed Yusuf and kidnaps Sophia, demanding the keys in exchange for her life. Ezio agrees and gives him the keys, but as soon as he figures Sophia is safe, he runs after Ahmet. He takes the keys, but before he can kill him, Selim arrives with his armies and executes Ahmet. He then spares Ezio due to Suleiman asking him to, but banishes him from Constantinople and says he could never return. Then going back into the present here, upon completing that, the animus starts deleting excess data stored in it, which includes Animus Island, where Desmond is. Clay, Subject 16, imprints his genetic memories onto Desmond and sacrifices himself so Desmond can not be deleted.
Weird.
It's, the present stuff is just
We just try
confusing.
to look past it.
Yeah. So then moving on.
This is not the Desmond collection.
So moving on, Ezio and Sophia return to Masyaf, where Ezio uses the keys to unlock Altair's library. He finds it empty, except for Altair's skeleton and a 6th key. He discovers the library was not meant to hold books, rather it's a vault meant to house Altair's Apple of Eden. Through the key, once again with the memories, Ezio learns that Altair had sealed himself inside the vault to preserve its secret from the Templars. Ezio leaves the apple in the library, stating that he had seen enough for one life. He then begins talking directly to Desmond. He doesn't really know, he doesn't know who Desmond is, he doesn't know where Desmond is, he can't see him, but from that event in Assassin's Creed 2, he knows that he is watching. So while talking, he discards his weapons, basically showing that he's retiring as an assassin, and tells Desmond that he realizes that he is a conduit for a message, and he hopes Desmond will be able to find answers to the questions that Ezio and Altair had worked so hard to uncover. But in the end, they never did. Suddenly, Desmond is approached by Jupiter, another member of the First Civilization. He explains that the First Civilization had built numerous vaults to study methods to save the planet from destruction. All the data collected was transmitted to a central vault where the data was tested. None of the methods were effective, and they failed to stop the destruction of their civilization by a solar flare. Jupiter shows Desmond the location of the vault, which is somewhere in New York, and tells him that he must save his planet from another solar flare that is happening soon. After hearing those words, Desmond awakens from his coma to find Rebecca and his father William standing with him, along with Sean. And Desmond states that he knows what they must do. And meanwhile, the central vault underground activates. And that's it. That's the end.
Weird.
Yeah, lot of stuff happens in this trilogy. So yeah, I guess we wanted to speak about the stories in more detail. I mean, not more detail. That was enough detail. Just really, I guess, just talk about the past and present stuff. My opinion for Assassin's Creed this entire time has been the present is not needed, and it honestly, to me, is a blight on every game. Like, in Revelations, when you get animus fragments, those are the big collectible in that game, every time you get a certain amount, you unlock a new, like, Desmond puzzle, which is kind of like a first-person kind of weird thing that happens. I remember those being okay, but overall, like, while the lore is cool, I feel like the First Civilization lore and stuff would work still without the present-day stuff, but all the present-day stuff, like, while it is cool, it's never really explained well in the story. Like, it's something that I feel like I have to watch videos of people who have put a lot more time than I ever will researching it, to understand it, even a little. And overall, it's like, even like, without the existence of the First Civilization, if it was just every game was just a different assassin going through each game with, unchanged, except the absence of future stuff, they'd still be fine. Just a secret war between assassins and Templars through different time periods. Yeah, that's fine enough without all this other.
Yeah, they don't
stuff.
All have to be connected, really. And
well,
they
like,
definitely
you can even have them connected without the future stuff, because Altair is still mentioned in, like, he is Ezio's ancestor, but Ezio doesn't know that. As far as Ezio knows, he's just an assassin from hundreds of years ago, and it works. Like in Assassin's Creed, like 3 and 4, Connor Kenway is Edward Kenway's grandson. It's like, it all works fine without the future stuff. So I'm like the future stuff to me just ends up becoming kind of annoying, especially because I guess knowing that, I'm pretty sure I read this a few years ago somewhere, but knowing that, like, the people at Ubisoft, the higher ups, that, like, people in charge of this series, like, they know how the series ends. They know how it's going to end. They're just taking forever to get there. And I'm like, at this point, when is it going to be there? And because I can't imagine them ever ending Assassin's Creed. It's probably their most profitable series, definitely the longest running. And, like, but if all the games were unrelated, that would be fine. But the fact that they are all technically a continuous future story that really is making no progress in getting anywhere, and for the most part hasn't made progress in getting anywhere the entire series, just becomes annoying.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The past stuff, the future stuff is mostly useless. It's only there because it needed to be there in the first game to set the premise for the whole thing, with the animus. And, to make, like, oh, it's a really cool, like, our game's kind of realistic history, ancestor stuff. That's kind of where they wanted to go in the first place, and they did. But it really trailed off, and they went in a lot of weird directions, kind of wrapped in around itself. And then that, faced with the problem of, like, the gameplay aspect of the modern day, is usually not enjoyable, not engaging. And
I mean, it's even like the end of Assassin's Creed 3 is completely just takes away all the point of the modern day stuff, because now it's just,
we'll talk about Assassin's Creed 3 in another episode.
It's
probably do 3 and 4 together.
I feel like we'd probably have to.
Kenway.
Yeah, the Kenway
Collection.
Kenway Collection. The KC.
Sure. Anywho, so do you want to talk about the gameplay?
Yeah, let's get into the gameplay. So first, with Assassin's Creed, obviously, the two big things are the combat and the traversal. Those are the things that everyone thinks about with Assassin's Creed. The combat in Assassin's Creed 2 improves upon 1. And this is basically where you get that main... I mean, it's basically the same in all of the games up until 4 and Rogue. Which
they make slight... I mean, each game has... The only difference in combat really is weapons.
Yeah.
Until you get to, like... I think Unity.
Unity is different.
It's the first one that changes the combat itself.
And it's also the first one that changes the traversal, because the combat doesn't change a lot. The traversal doesn't change at all.
True.
But, the combat, it's basically you have, in terms of PlayStation, you have triangle to counter, square is your hit, and really those are the only 2 buttons you're using in combat.
Right.
There is, like, circle grabs. There's a grab, but I never use it.
Yeah, I never used it, but you do want to mention it. I think you can grab somebody, and you can, like, shove them in a direction.
Yeah. In the second, they did introduce disarming enemies if you counter with just your fists, which you can't do in the first game. Also, countering with the hidden blades. You can't do that in the first game. So basically, also, talk about kind of weapons, because that's really the biggest change is just, like you said, the weapons.
Mm.
So in Assassin's Creed 2, you have a short weapon, a dagger. You have a medium weapon, usually like a sword or a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up long weapons from enemies, but you can't buy them and you can't equip them, so I don't really count those too much. Throwing knives, you have the 2 hidden blades. You have a poison blade, which is just a hidden blade that instead of killing, poison someone.
Uh-huh.
You have a pistol and smoke bombs.
Nice.
The pistol is really cool.
It is cool.
It is really cool. I love how it works. Implementing like a pistol in Renaissance Italy, really cool.
Yeah, the story, the right away for it wasn't too bad. It was a Leonardo da Vinci, invention.
Well, he got it from a codex page.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's actually technically older.
From First Civilization, right?
Well, it's one of Altair's codex pages.
Oh.
I guess he probably got it from First Civilization, maybe. That wouldn't be...
I don't know.
Anyway.
But it's a little wrist gun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it takes a second. You basically hold, I think...
Just aim.
Yeah.
Just hold the aim button. And
right. And
like
it auto-locks. You don't free aim.
Yeah. And it also has like these kind of like shard-looking things that connect together to form a line.
Yep.
And basically like it's cool because as those are forming, you can shoot at any time, but it's just the longer you wait, the more accurate it is. Because, Ezio obviously being one of the first people to use a gun kind of can be weird.
Right. So
then in Brotherhood, you have the hidden blades again. You have small, medium, and heavy weapons become more of a thing. Like there are heavy weapons in 2, but they're like the long ones where you can pick them up and use them a bit, but you can't buy them and you can't keep them.
Right. It can't be your main weapon.
Yep. You get a crossbow. You get, like, the pistol becomes a little more useful. You get throwing knives, and you get poison darts as well.
Okay.
This game also, Brotherhood, introduced, quick fire. Being able to quick fire in combat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the gun specifically. This was the game that introduced that, which in future Assassin's Creed is a very big thing. Specifically 4.
And 3.
And 3, yeah. Yeah. So then in Revelations... it's pretty much the same. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's the same. The only difference is instead of 2 hidden blades, you get the hook blade. But I think we'll talk about that more in Traversal.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say I actually like the hook blade.
No, the hook blade's really cool, but anyway, you can talk about Traversal.
So, Assassin's Creed is famous for its open-world traversal using parkour-style techniques. That was first done in the original Assassin's Creed, and they have followed it in every Assassin's Creed after that. Assassin's Creed 2 does refine the techniques.
It's like a little smoother.
It is a little smoother. You're able to grab more objects, which was a huge issue in the first Assassin's Creed, the limited amount of climbing area.
Yeah, especially being able to grab stuff while falling. I don't think that's a thing in the first game, from what I can remember. Mm-hmm. And I have many deaths for that.
Right. So the controls remain largely unchanged. You sprint and you hold your climb button and you point at wherever you're trying to go up.
It's a weird system where holding R1 makes you jog, then you also have to hold X to make you sprint.
Yep.
But then that also is the button that climbs things, which can be real annoying if you're trying to run. It's a very dated system. Like I said, they really fix it in Unity a lot. And then, after Syndicate, they completely revamped everything. So it's a little different, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Assassin's Creed Revelations introduced the hook blade. That allowed for ziplining and in Constantinople and grabbing enemies. It does not reappear in the future games. The hook blade was also used to catch yourself when falling, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's what you were alluding to, right? Or could you catch yourself in 2?
You could catch yourself in 2. It was just like it was more like at that point it was like a flavor thing he would use. I think you could maybe catch yourself from greater heights. But yeah, it was something that it was used for.
Yeah, it never reappears.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, ziplining. I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it just helps make going building to building faster.
Right?
Yeah,
it's not like Syndicate where you create your.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like the grappling hook. It's
that grappling hook is crazy OP.
Yeah, but it's cool. It definitely helped make the parkouring faster, like rooftop to rooftop. And yeah, it sucked that it wasn't used in future games. But to me, I think it really is what started the like special weapon that since this game, every protagonist you play as has kind of that special weapon or special set of weapons that they use. Like Connor had the tomahawk, Edward had the two cutlasses he would use. I mean, and even like to Eivor with his 2 axes, like
his
or her.
My Eivor is female.
I'm sorry.
Just like my Cassandra. Just
Cassandra's
like
better.
My Bayek. Origins.
I didn't know
you can't.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you can.
Bayek has a really cool story. We'll get there, and that's when you'll be forced to play it.
We'll get there in future.
In future.
Yeah.
Wow. Anywho.
Well, technically past.
This game, as with all Assassin's Creeds, has very, very minor puzzle solving. The puzzles don't really get...
It's mainly, in Assassin's Creed, in these... It's mainly just
fetch.
No, it's like mainly like parkouring puzzles where like it's like pull a switch and you have a certain amount of time to parkour to this thing. It's not. I don't really count that. To me, the puzzle solving in this game, and collectibles as well. Yeah, I decided to put collectibles as well just for things. So Assassin's Creed 2 to me has one of the most infamous collectibles in all of gaming. Petruccio's feathers. 100 of them. Very annoying to find them all. But it also had the Subject 16 video segments, which were really cool. When we initially played the game, we did not even know what those were. We never did anything with those. But when I played this game like 8 months ago, Assassin's Creed 2, and on the Ezio Collection, and got the platinum in it, and got all of those. And those are really cool. And those actually like... you find the piece as Ezio, and then you're taken to the thing where he does a little talking, and you can see slowly as he's losing his mind for each one you find, and then you have to like do some like decoding and like really like it gets super intricate puzzle solving. It gets wild by the end. I would honestly highly recommend, if you're not gonna play the game, to look it up and see just see a few of them, because there are a few different puzzle types and they're really fun, like legitimately fun. I actually really enjoyed doing them. Towards the end, like I said, they get so insane that I don't know how people were able to solve those. Like I was able to get, I think, through like the first 13, 14, maybe 15 without using a guide, though some would take a long time. But that one, like the later ones, I have no idea how people were able to solve those. Because it's like I would watch a video of someone solving it, and then I would look at the screen and be like, okay, where is this person finding this stuff that they're using? And even knowing the solution, I could not walk my way back into the clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super intricate, but super cool.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I'm playing through Gods and Monsters. What was that called now? Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Yeah.
And it's basically like Breath of the Wild. So it's basically just like puzzle, it's all puzzles. And so like if you get stuck on something, to look up one specific solution is nearly impossible, because you're drowning in what is the solution to this specific section of this specific portion of the map. You know, it's not. That's why I prefer when you have puzzles and collectibles and stuff like that, have them labeled and numbered, and so looking them up and collecting them and organizing them is a little bit easier.
I'm sure game developers really care about that.
They care about adding 100 feathers in random places to waste time. 50's not good enough.
It's a lot, man. It wasn't worth it.
No.
It was very annoying to find them. They're small.
No. Isn't that, don't you get an outfit?
You get a cape.
Yeah, see, I like the games where you get older assassins outfits and different ones. Those are really cool.
Yeah, but most of them, like, in the later games, you just get those. You don't have to do anything for them.
Well, yeah.
Like, I know, like, in Unity, you just got them all. I'm pretty sure. Like, in some you do have to do stuff, but, you know, like, to get Altair's armor in Assassin's Creed 2 is a whole side quest of things to do where you have to find all these hidden assassin tombs to find the hidden assassin keys. Really cool, really interesting. Like, that's the puzzle solving aspect where you're basically just following this parkouring path and sometimes being timed for it and stuff. Really fun, but once again, because of the dated, janky controls not always working, they could be pretty frustrating because of that. Notable gameplay mechanics. Eagle Vision.
Eagle Vision is a good mention. You hold a button and it kind of like blips out like a radar from your character, and it highlights allies, targets, and then anything that is special otherwise. And Eagle Vision is kind of like discount Detective Vision in my opinion, since Detective Vision is just like a literal on and off.
Pretty much.
Eagle Vision's and blips.
Eagle Vision is like that in. So it's kind of,
it does switch.
The games
it does switch.
Like in the first game you could not use it while moving, you had to be standing still. In the second game you could use it while moving, but you couldn't use it while running, and that's the same for Brotherhood and Revelations. I feel like eventually there was a game you could use it while running, but that might not be true. But yeah, in the first game it was like you had to hold it and you couldn't move. The second,
let me tell you what's annoying about Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed Valhalla is sprint is L3. Eagle Vision is R3. If you hit L3 and R3 at the same time, it opens camera mode. So when I'm running and I'm trying to, blip that Eagle Vision to see where the gold I'm looking for is or something like that, at half the time it'll bring up the camera and it just pauses and the camera starts moving wherever I'm holding.
Like, I understand that you can get some awesome shots and people do really cool stuff with photo mode. I just don't care about it.
Yeah, I will never use it. I'm glad other people like it. I don't care if it's in a game or not.
I have used photo mode in games, but the only reason is if there's a trophy for it. And even then, it's usually not like taking a picture or anything. It's just like,
getting the trophy.
Well, even then, it's just like in one game, it was just use photo mode. Like, I didn't take a picture, it would just activate it, and then I would leave it.
Yeah, that's how it is in, it might be in Valhalla. There is a trophy for, like, using a filter. And if I want that trophy, I'll just go into photo mode, put on a filter, exit photo mode. Yeah. And that will be my time spent.
It's like, I love other people using photo mode, because seeing other people's photos of games, really nice. 100%. I will never do it. It's just, I'm not that gamer.
Right.
So also in Assassin's Creed 2, you get the introduction of the Stronghold, which is basically your home base. You can upgrade it. You can you can open shops, which gives you discounts on those stores. Opening those stores also brings you revenue because you're like an owner, and it also actually does like improve the look of the areas because you'll have like boarded up shop become an open shop, or like this not too looking good tower become a full cool tower.
Yeah. It was the first Assassin's Creed that had that open world, fixing up the world aspect to it, and I really like that.
I really like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I like that they've kept that in all their later games. In Brotherhood, you had districts. It was the first Assassin's Creed game to feature districts, as we discussed earlier. They're basically like different portions of the map, sectioned, highlighted red, and every portion highlighted red is Templar controlled, and you liberate them, basically.
Which, I mean, that's a very common thing in games now.
Especially open world.
Yeah. But, yeah, this Brotherhood was the first Assassin's Creed game to do it. And, yeah, it's district control. It's, section control. It's what it is.
Talk about the Assassin.
Yeah. So Brotherhood also introduces this new management system where the player can recruit new members by basically you would destroy Borgia towers around Rome, which is basically like the, like enemy headquarters you'd have to attack to take over the area. Then you could rescue disgruntled citizens in their districts that are being harassed by guards. And then you basically just ask them to join the order, and they join the order. Mm-hmm. And then you can send them on assignments around Europe, which is something that has been in every Assassin's Creed game since, where it's basically like you send them on this mission, it'll have a path, and it'll say how dangerous the path is, and you can clear the path. I'm specifically thinking of Assassin's Creed 4 because that's the one where I did it the most.
Yeah, I think that might be in later games.
But, basically you send them on these missions, in this game, you just send them on, depending on how dangerous the mission is and what their level is. It gives you, like, a chance of them succeeding or not. You send them, and then you have to wait, like, real time, minutes or however long, depending on how far away it is geographically, to get back, and doing that gets you money. It also gives them XP. You can also call them to support you during missions, so they will just come in and, like it was just like a press of a button, they'll run in and assassinate someone for you. They'd run in and help you fight. As well, if you had to have a certain amount, and then you would have like these bars that would build up, and if you had 3 bars, you could basically just call down like an arrow storm that would just kill a bunch of enemies in the area. Mm-hmm. So the assassins can level up and gain experience to become like master assassins. They have appearance you can customize, they have skills, they have like skill points you can spend on them, and they can die and they're dead. You have to find someone to replace them. Really cool. I really liked it. I really liked it in this game. I think it's something that isn't really in future games, which like I wish it was, because I think this was definitely great base work. I think they could have made it better, but they just never
They really gave up on it immediately after Brotherhood and Revelations.
I mean,
right?
that's even like that was the whole point of Brotherhood. That was their selling point. Mm-hmm. With another thing as well, but like this was one of the big things of, hey, like you'll command the assassin order. You can have them do things. It's also Brotherhood is the first game where you can free roam as Desmond. I never did it, but you can, so that's fun.
And most importantly, Brotherhood also introduced multiplayer for the first time in the Assassin's Creed series. Players would, I think it's like 2 teams, or not teams, but like 2.
You could do teams of free-for-all.
Right.
In the original multiplayer, those were your options.
Right.
They did eventually come up with a bunch of game modes, but in this, it was that.
Yeah, see, the only game mode I remember was the one where you have a target and somebody's hunting you.
Yeah, that's the main one.
Oh, is that this one?
Yeah, they did that in teams, and they did that with
Okay, yeah.
free-for-all.
So, yeah, one team, you're hiding, and you're also chasing your target. And the thing is, like, if you pay attention, you can obviously tell the NPCs versus the non-NPCs. When you blend in, I think in that game, I think it's when you blend in, you look like you're somebody around.
Well, no, the whole time.
Oh, the whole time?
Yeah, you have...
Okay.
No, so, like, basically you have, like, the different characters you can choose from different
Yeah,
outfits.
right, I remember that.
And all the NPCs are those same characters walking around.
Yeah.
So, it's like, you might look like a jester, but there are also 18 other NPC jesters walking around. So it's definitely a balance of trying to blend in while also seeking out the person you are hunting and trying to avoid the person that is hunting you.
Yeah, I think the Assassin's Creed multiplayer is extremely underrated. I think the gameplay itself is really fun.
I was going to say, I think it is maybe the most underrated multiplayer mode in games, because multiplayer in Assassin's Creed did not have to exist. Nobody would have cared if it didn't.
Nobody asked for it.
It doesn't exist anymore, but it was fun. It was fun while it was there.
Yeah.
Especially
and they kept it around for a good few games.
Yeah, up through 4, I think, was the last game that had competitive multiplayer. Unity had, like, cooperative multiplayer. I don't think they had competitive.
Yeah. I really think it could have worked. I would switch it up to, like, Assassins and Templars. And then maybe keep gameplay similar and have, like, one team be, like, the guards and the other team be the assassins, and have, like, an objective to steal something or assassinate a specific target or something.
I feel like that would be very hard to do.
Oh, yeah, no matter what, it would be very hard to do. But I'm saying, like, there's a lot of potential in what they had. And
there was definitely a lot of potential, but,
but also, I felt like it did not succeed because it did not bolster team play. Team play, cooperation, communication, anything like that.
Yeah, no, because it's when...
It didn't really feel like multiplayer.
I mean, there were, like... Yeah, it was mainly for the competitive, because even when you're on, like, doing, like, the team mode, you're not interacting with your other teammates. Like, you might be hunting the same person,
True,
but you're not interacting with each other. You're basically by your... Like, the difference is you're by yourself and everyone is out to kill you, or you're by yourself and some people are out to kill you. But then, like, really, I think 3 might have done it first, but I know for a fact 4 had, I think it's called Wolfpack, which is a cooperative online thing, where you're basically going through, like, waves of challenges with other players. Mm-hmm. Like, that worked really well in feeling like a team. But
yeah, but the problem was nobody wanted to play multiplayer. The audience of Assassin's Creed are already devoted single-player gamers,
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly, like, a very niche group of people, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of not fun,
Revelations introduced Den Defense, which is a tower defense minigame to defend captured districts from Templar soldiers. So it's basically, once you capture a district, Templars can try to take it back, and you have like a certain amount of time to activate the mission, and then come back here and defend it. From what I can remember playing this game, I enjoyed it and had fun. I did like it, but it happened way too much. Because it got to the point where I'm like, well, because it takes a while to get through, and it's like, while I enjoyed it, it got to a point where I'm like, well, if I just let them take it over and recapture it, that'll take less time than doing the defense. So it's like, it was overused, but I did like it. I had fun with it.
I liked it the first couple times, and then after that, it was a bore to me. It was a tower defense in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it was certainly, I feel like, the most even more than the multiplayer, just out there, where did this come from kind of thing.
I'm a harsh critic of the tower defense in Assassin's Creed Revelations. I only like Assassin's Creed Revelation for the story. Everything else, I'm really mad about,
Yeah, I got you.
The problem I have with tower defense is I don't want to pick up my AAA $60 game and play something I can play on cool math, Yeah.
No, you're correct. Yeah, moving on. In terms of...
And it could have been more interesting, the tower defense, if it was challenging, or other than like any other tower defense, which is just by simply overwhelming you with a number of enemies.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly...
Like, even then, I think that could have been made fun.
I certainly don't think it was ever challenging, but, Anyway, moving on. Immersion. I mean, you're playing in the past. I love it. It's great. Like I said, this is something that the present sequences kind of ruin, but it's certainly fun to run around Renaissance Italy and Constantinople and Rome and all these places and actual historical places with actual historical buildings and actual historical people. I love it.
Yeah, you played, since you said you recently played through Assassin's Creed 2, that's on 4?
The system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a remaster, right?
Uh-huh.
Will you give a quick review of it?
Of the remaster?
Of the remaster, yeah. Like, would you suggest somebody pick it up if they'd never played? Would you suggest, who would you suggest that to? People who have played it? Like,
I mean, if you played it and liked it, sure. I would say you could enjoy it if you hadn't played the series, but you absolutely have to understand that it is dated. The controls, specifically the parkouring, really dated. If you were to go through and just play through the story, I think you would be fine and you would get through with minimal issues, especially because going in story, they usually, the paths enemies take in stories when you have to follow and stuff, goes along a path that is meant to be easier to parkour and stuff. They do it on purpose. Yeah. But doing all the collectibles and stuff, like I said, it was fun. Doing all the parkouring puzzles were fun, except for the times when the janky controls would really start messing with me and would really get me annoyed.
Right.
So I enjoyed them. I had fun playing them.
Well, I hate to tell you that happens to me in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so that's not going to go away.
Oh, I'm happy about that.
The parkour issues. It's a great system after Unity. Well, can parkour up and down.
See, that's the thing, is the bad climbing things, it's fixed in Unity because if you accidentally climb something, climbing down is quick. But up until Unity, you couldn't climb down fast.
True.
So it was if you accidentally started climbing the wrong building, it's like mashing the circle button to let go. And then if you start running too soon, you immediately start climbing the same thing again.
Right, but being able to climb down doesn't solve the problem of jumping and climbing onto the wrong thing.
It does
which
not.
is, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you have pages like Assassin's Creed 4. There's song pages, and there are also like tattoo designs and stuff like that. And you walk up to them, and they start floating along a parkour path. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's like, it makes it better. It doesn't fix it, but it makes it more tolerable. For sure. So then, notable trophies. Really, to me, just speaking Assassin's Creed 2 here, there's In Memory of Petruchio for collecting all the feathers, because, man, that was like 2 hours I'm never getting back.
Right.
And then there's Perfect Harmony, which I love this. It's to, in Assassin's Creed 2, tint your clothes with the colors Wetland Ebony and Wetland Ivory. You get both of those, I think, in Forli or in Venice a little bit later, because, Wetland, obviously. I don't think you understand the reference, but in, I don't know what year, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder released a song called Ebony and Ivory. And the whole, chorus, Ebony and Ivory together make perfect harmony, something like that. The song is not good, and is one of those, famously bad songs of, man, these two super talented people teamed up to make a song. How could it possibly be this bad? It's bad.
Right.
But I just love this little nod to it.
That is funny.
It was fun. Yeah, just for the music nerds that also play Assassin's Creed. All right, so now, questions. Favorite moment? For me, anytime Da Vinci is involved. I just love him as a character. He's really cool.
He is a great character. My favorite moment is at the end of Revelations, or near the end of Revelations, when you discover Altair's resting place. His body, and he's in full master assassin garb in the chair with the apple.
I also love it. Yeah, I also love it because it's like you play as him when you play as him in that memory.
Yeah,
literally, the last thing you do as Altair is it's like, hey, the mission objective is just like, hey, just sit down and take a little break.
Right.
And then that's where he is to this day. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Anything you didn't like? For me, again, I said it is. Controls did not age well.
Yeah, janky controls and the really contorted story with the modern day story and the first civilization and all that can get very convoluted. And that's where I feel like Assassin's Creed 2 is where they got a lot of people, and then Brotherhood and Revelations is where they lost a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And then, replayability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played them and I enjoyed them. I had fun with it.
I have never, and I probably will never replay an Assassin's Creed game. They're just too long.
Well, I think the older ones aren't bad. If you're talking Origins on, absolutely. But once again, to me, replaying them is, I'm probably only just playing the story. Yeah.
I get that.
There are some games that replaying to me, in my mind, includes doing collectibles and stuff, but these are not them. These are, I would play through the story because the gameplay is fun and I like the story.
That's true enough, but I think about when I want to replay an Arkham game and I'm like, I'm going to do all the side missions and fight all the side villains, but then I have to do all the Riddler stuff and do all the,
Well, yeah, but this game doesn't have those.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
So like I said, maybe I guess the Subject 16 stuff, but I don't really, I wouldn't feel the need to do that. Also, I feel as a note, these games did have DLC. We did not play them, so we're not going to talk about them. I know one of them is called, The Disappearance of Da Vinci, or you have to solve, Leonardo da Vinci is missing, you have to find him or something. I don't know. There's nothing I can say.
Generally, most Assassin's Creeds have DLCs, and we have played almost zero of them.
Yeah. Yeah, Assassin's Creed for us is very much a play it, done, move on.
The game is enough.
Yeah, we play it, we have fun with it, we beat it, and then we move on.
Oh, so yeah. That's Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. The Ezio Collection. That's not
Collection.
Assassin's Creed.
Thus is the tale of Ezio Auditore de Firenze.
Da Firenze.
De Firenze.
It's da.
It's de.
It's da. When's the last time you played the games? Da. Da 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 da.
But de is from. From Firenze. Whatever.
I'm cutting this out.
Anyway, so...
Here, say his name again.
Ezio Auditore de Firenze.
Okay.
De, because he's from Firenze.
Yeah, okay.
It's Spanish.
Yeah, well, it's Italian.
Well, it's basically Spanish. They're
Don't say that.
basically
Don't say
the
that.
same thing.
You're gonna insult all of our Italian listeners
Whatever.
and our Spanish
Listen,
listeners.
Italian and Spanish is also basically English.
What?
They're very close. They have a lot of words that are just
Yes.
the same. Do you know what nervous is? Nervioso. They're all very similar.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not like German or French where they're just completely different.
French is very similar to Italian and Spanish. They're all romance
very
languages.
different.
They're all romance languages. You sound like a
Anyway.
fucking fool. You're a fool. I'm leaving this in so people know how stupid you are.
Jesus. Agree to disagree. Oh, so now let's talk about the indie bit. The bit where we talk about indie games. Today, we're talking about Concrete Genie. This is the game I picked, right?
You did. So
I
you
would
can-
say this. So Concrete Genie is a cute little indie game. I did not catch the company. That's my bad. I'll look into it later because I think they developed something else and I want to keep up with them. So Concrete Genie is about a young boy whose name is what's his name again? Ash. Right. I thought so. I didn't want to guess wrong because then Ash Ketchum and yeah, it's a whole thing. I was thinking about Ash earlier. I don't want to say. So anyway, Ash is a young boy in the town of Denska, and it's basically like you read newspapers throughout the game. It's a rundown town. It's abandoned. There was an oil spill there, and it's all messy, and so Ash's passion is painting. He has a sketchbook. He draws and paints and colors and stuff, and he gets bullied by this group of delinquent bullies in Danska who they just torture him. These are the only people in this whole city going around, and they torture Ash and take his notebook and tear it up and throw it around, and then they in a scuffle they force him onto the
Gondola?
No.
Tram? No.
Yeah.
Lift?
Maybe, I don't know. It's one of those like a zip skyline,
like a little train car in the sky.
Yeah, whatever those are called.
We're smart.
So yeah, that takes him to the lighthouse. So he goes to the lighthouse and basically there is a spirit there, and he draws it. You do, and it's called Luna. And Luna basically gives him the mission of painting the whole town and cleaning it up and making it look better. And so then after that, Ash goes back to the town, and the game becomes open world, and you go around the town basically painting and cleaning up, and you turn on lights, and you avoid the bullies. Once you clean up the whole town, the corruption takes over, and it corrupts the genies that you have painted throughout the whole game, and they become enemies, and that's when fighting becomes introduced. The combat system is pretty interesting in this game. It's 3 buttons, square, triangle, and circle, being different elemental attacks that are paint-based, like the yellow one is lightning. And I think that it provides a really beautiful aesthetic to the game that was already there, obviously. But I really didn't expect combat in the game by the time it got there, and I thought it was decent. It was okay. The dodging and attacking mechanics, aiming was easy. It was a little too easy if I had any complaints about it. So, as Ash defeats all the corruption and rescues the bully kids, they one by one apologize to Ash and befriend him and end up helping him to defeat the rest of the monsters and save the rest of the kids. And then at the end of the game, the whole town is repainted and the kids are all friends and everything is happy.
Yay. And that's that.
Yes.
Did you like this game?
I did like this game. I enjoyed it I thought it was going to be a very simple game, much like our other indie bits have. And this game turned out to be a little bit bigger and more in-depth than I thought. Like, I did not expect it to be open world. I did not expect combat. The story was more interesting than I initially thought it was going to be. Everything about this game was enjoyable to me, and I was very excited to continue to play it. My only complaint is that it was short. I would have been able to play a lot more of it.
So me talking about it, did I like this game? Yes, I did. I think, one, as well, the art of the game is just awesome. The art style, like the characters' faces are all kind of like sketched to me is how I would describe it. The art of the genie is beautiful. The art when you draw on the walls is beautiful. How like it moves. You have the rain and like the stars, and you can paint the
lightning,
auroras, the butterflies, and the crows. All those really, really cool. I knew nothing about this game going into it. I thought the brush was a broom. Just from all I had was like the picture.
All I knew that this game had something to do with graffiti.
I knew,
and it coming to life.
Literally, all I thought was there was a kid with a magic wand / broom. That's literally what I thought it was. I did like the game. The art was incredible. The painting was... So I want to give props to the painting because did you use motion controls for the painting the whole game?
Hell no. I turned that off ASAP.
I did not. I used it the whole game.
What the hell?
It works really well. It works very well. The one thing, give credit to the person who came up with this idea, was just the push of a button recenters you on the screen. So no matter... So, like, there's no getting, like, weird trying to figure out. Yeah, you could, if you were, like, not where you wanted to be and moving the controller wasn't working, just press one button, triangle, and it's back to the center, and you can move again. It worked really well. That idea was genius, and it was fun. I used the controls, the motion controls the entire time, and never once would I say I had an issue with it. Traversal of the game is good, like the parkouring and stuff. It's good for what it is.
You can climb most everything. I was surprised by the amount of stuff that was climbable.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say I use the non-motion controls, and that makes just use the right stick.
Yeah, I know that. I do like as well. They give you that option because I'm sure there are people like you who hate motion controls being in anything, and the second that is a thing, you would get rid of it.
Yeah.
I loved the painting on the walls. Like the actual creating like your own art and stuff. I had so much fun with that. It was so fun painting grasses and trees and all this stuff.
Oh yeah, that was the best. The genie painting was a little lackluster for me.
The actual creation of the genies.
Yeah, I mean mine were pretty cool looking. Like I tried to get as weird as I tried to get as weird as I could, but still, like for that being the main thing of the game, they didn't have as many options as I expected. All the options were kind of similar.
One thing I did not like was the fact that it so the game is split in two parts. I do think I wish they had maybe interspersed the parts more. Like the game is literally split into you're running around painting, running from bullies, lighting the lights, which I kind of don't like how those work because like you have to paint like right where the light is.
Yeah.
So it's like to me it kind of limits when you're painting where
the concept is there.
Well, to me it like limits when you're painting where the lights are because like you can't paint like a tree because only a few lights will light, so I would always find myself just doing a line under them just to get rid of them, and the actual enjoying the painting part would be more of like the genie moments that you would find where they would want you to paint certain things. Oh yeah,
true.
Those were really cool. That was probably my favorite part, and the billboards.
Yeah,
those were my favorite things to do.
I like when there's something to lead because I don't know what the fuck to paint.
I could still paint myself and have fun with it. Just like I said, like where the lights are, you're kind of limited because you can't get you can't paint whatever you want to get the lights up because the lights won't go up unless something is painted right where the light is. Combat is really, really good. I was not for not knowing combat was in there and for how really short it is. It was really, really good.
It was good.
It's really fluid and fast paced. The skating is incredible. Mm-hmm. It was like the first time I would ever describe combat as beautiful. It was just really nice to look at and shoot and stuff. Yeah, the skating is awesome. The dodge slide is awesome. Really cool. My big thing was, like I said, I wish that the parts were interspersed more. Like maybe you did painting, then fighting, then painting, then fighting. Because it started to get a bit old when I was getting to the end of the painting section of like, oh man, this is like... I thought that was just the game was just gonna end there. And I was like, fine with that. Because I didn't really want it to go on past that if I was just gonna do more painting.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. It needed a change, and I thought it hit the right pace there. Because even though you're right, it does get tedious, and you're like, oh man, this is the same thing for like 6 different areas. There's really not that many lights in the whole game. It didn't take me more than 10 minutes to get through an area.
Oh no,
you know what I mean?
To me it did.
If I wanted to just go for the lights and move on to the next area.
Well, yeah, but I was planning getting collectible stuff because I did in one day start and get all the trophies in this game. Took me about 8 hours. Did like 4 hours. Took a break, 4 hours. Like the combat part, though, like I did that entire thing in like an hour and a half. And it's like, but it was really fun. But it's also like I feel like the combat is very, it's very simple. It's good simple, but it's simple. That when that finished and I did the final boss fight, I was like done with combat. I was like, okay, I hope there isn't some surprise thing happening here because I don't really want to fight anymore. So I think if they had interspersed it more of like, area, like paint an area, then the area gets corrupted, and then you save the area, and then move on to the next area and rinse and repeat, I feel like it would have
or maybe
worked
like it
better.
starts corrupted and you have to free it and then paint.
Yeah, just like
Anyway.
just interspersing it would have probably been fine. Collectibles weren't bad. There were a lot, but it's not too annoying. I was able to find like 90% of them without a guide, and the ones that I needed a guide for were kind of annoying, but it's fine. And I think that's really it for Concrete Genie. It was fun. I really enjoyed
great
it.
game.
Game by Pixel Opus.
Okay.
They also made Entwined.
Okay.
That is, I think, a PS4 exclusive game. It might not be. We own it.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
I've actually.
Is that the yellow and blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the indie bit for today. Next indie bit, we will be talking about Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Bendy and the Ink Machine, just because you already played it?
No, because I wanted to talk about it.
Do we you own it? Like,
I do, yeah.
Download?
Disc, I'll give it to you.
Oh, okay. Cool, I know absolutely nothing about that game, except I thought it was a kid's game.
So here, I'll tell you, beginning, before I knew about it, I knew it was a scary game, and it was based on like 20s, 30s cartoons.
Okay.
And that's all I knew. But once again, as someone who, like, with Cuphead, I love those 20s, 30s cartoons, instantly hooked me.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, but it is a horror game. It's kind of like mixing Outlast with, a bit. Okay, yeah.
So it's like a walk-in one?
For the most part. There is some action, but it's really hard to explain until you've played it without giving away too much.
Cool,
so,
I'm excited.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. All right, so, this is our 10th episode.
Yay!
We've officially made it.
Is that when you make it?
I feel like 10 episodes is when we can officially call ourselves podcasters.
Oh, I thought it was when we had 10 million subscribers.
No, we'd never get that.
No.
So,
there's not that many people who listen to podcasts.
Our podcast, our type of podcast, sure.
Whatever.
But it's cool. Like, we're not good at committing to doing things, and this is 10 episodes, so go us.
That's true.
Yeah. High five.
Cool.
Yeah. I feel like I had to say it first, so
that being
people
said,
wouldn't be
since
confused.
it's the 10th episode and the end of season 1.
Nope. Nope.
Then,
no.
So we are continuing?
Yeah.
Season 2?
I think maybe we will take one episode break.
Oh.
So have a month instead of just 2 weeks for the next episode. Maybe. It depends on how I'm feeling.
That's fair.
I do think maybe we'll do that for 10 episodes. Yeah, it's cool. It's just cool that we got to 10.
True.
Soon we'll be at 11.
Yeah, our next episode.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the regular episode. We only tell people what the end of it is. So they can look forward to the last 10 minutes of the podcast.
Hey guys, this is Jaden from the Super Gamer Bros. Just here to say that even though in this episode we do talk about taking an episode break and not uploading for another month, we decided immediately after that we will upload an episode in 2 weeks, so March 29th will be the next episode. And now back to your regularly scheduled wrap-up.
Okay, so I do have a story for you, just to make this long episode even longer. So I'm sure you know I commissioned an artist for the artwork for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Very talented artist. I found her on Twitter. Her name is Sarah Lansdell. She, I contacted her, had her make this. She didn't know what she was making it for. I just asked her to make it. And, I paid what I feel like was way too little money for how good the art is. But that was it. And then when I was actually getting the podcast ready and to start, I was like, should I, I was always planning on crediting her, but it was just like, should I tell her that I'm crediting her? Because maybe, she would want a specific thing credited, or maybe she wouldn't want to be credited at all.
Yeah, maybe you could ask like where to send people, like at like a
Twitter
Twitter handle.
I included a Twitter handle.
Oh, okay.
Because that's how I contacted her initially, so I knew that. But I always, I talked to our legal department, and they informed me that it's Mom.
Yeah.
And she informed me, that she was like, well, you paid for it, so I don't even think like you necessarily have to credit her. I still think it's a good thing to do, which I never intended on not crediting her. I was always going to do that because the art is really good. Like it makes people think that we're like real podcasters before they actually listen and discover that we're not.
You mean professional?
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, like they see the art and they're like, wow, this podcast must be awesome, and then they listen and regret their decisions.
And then they know that it is.
Yeah.
So listen,
but. No, so literally, months after we started, I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just email her and see if she wants to be credited or whatever, because I just kept feeling awkward about it, but just never said anything, because it got to a point where I was like, well, it's been too long, I can't say anything now. But then I was like, I'll say something, because it's just weighing on me. Mm-hmm. So I was looking her up in my emails, trying to find our email conversation. I couldn't find it. Well, I discovered that in all of her credits, I had spelled her name wrong. I had spelled her last name Lansdell instead of Lansdell.
Oh,
I had swapped the S and the D.
Oh, no.
And I had spelled her first name wrong, Sarah. Her name is Sarah with no H. I spelled it Sarah. Here's the embarrassing part. Her Twitter handle and her name on all of her accounts is like her Twitter handle, @NoHSarah. I did not understand what that means. For so long, every time I would look at it, every time I would put her name in the description for an episode, I would be like, what does that no H mean? Like, I just don't get it. And then I finally found her name, and I was like, oh, her name doesn't have an H, and oh my God. And so then, before I messaged her, I went in and changed her credits in all the episodes and everything, so it was correct.
Jesus.
And then I emailed her, and she asked me, she was like, yeah, like link my art station, and no idea what that, because I don't know, I don't know the art community. I was like, I don't know anything about like how the art community works. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, hey, I don't know if you remember me, I commissioned this thing, just wanted to like credit you if you wanted like me to credit a specific thing. So her art station and her Instagram are now included, because those are both exclusively for art. Her Twitter is also just her Twitter. So yeah, if you really like her art, which I hope you do, because it's very much the best thing about the podcast.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah. Like, we got the art and we got the name, and we're still working on the rest. Definitely check those out. They are linked in every episode description. And she also did ask for a link to listen to it, and I was like, oh, well, if you're sure, I hope she doesn't listen to this. I just felt so stupid, because I was like, it was something that at the time when I initially put it in, I was so confident I was correct that I was like, oh, should I look this up and make sure? And I'm like, no, I know this is it. I am so sure.
Dumbass.
And yeah, so,
What, you gave her a link?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so, I guess if you listen to this, thanks for the art.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
No, is... Oh, yeah. Did you do the...
Oh, you were just going to say something?
Oh, yeah, I did want to say. It is great piece of art. Jaden actually got me a physical copy of that, and that's hanging up in my living room as we speak. I love that painting.
Yeah. I also got myself a physical copy, and that's hanging up in my office above my desk.
Good. So anyway, that's Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection.
That's Concrete Genie. That's the art.
Yep.
And that's 10 episodes. So don't forget, new episodes every other Monday. We'll tweet about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Nobody looks at the Twitter, but we'll tweet about it so we can say that we did give people warning.
You gotta tweet more things.
What? Yeah.
I don't know either. I'm not a tweet. This is why we need to hire a social media.
Gotcha. I'll get Mom on
department.
Yeah, I'll get Mom on it.
She can't handle legal and publicist responsibilities.
Yes, she can. Anyway, so rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't, and tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast, and follow our Twitter at SuperbGamerBros for updates on episodes. Yeah, we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.